Hello again, my friends, and welcome back to Drak Vlogs, Luke Cage edition. So I've made my way through two more episodes, episodes 4 and 5, and I'm just going to go over a quick summation of what happened in those episodes, and I'm going to try and stay spoiler-free, but I'm not making any guarantees. If you're waiting to go see Luke Cage yourself, this is the time to go ahead and turn things off. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I, of course, will see you guys for the next video. Now, for the people who want to be spoiled, just kind of going over quick plots of each episode as we go along. Let's start with episode 4, obviously. Episode 4 is more of a backstory episode, so we learn... Obviously, episode 3 ended so well because we had a rocket launcher hit a Chinese restaurant, and at that point, we then cut back into the wreckage of it, and... I guess her name is Connie. She's the manager of the restaurant, and she's trapped with Luke Cage, but she's in bad shape, so he's trying to get her out. And while he's doing that, we have flashbacks into his past and all the things that he went through before he came to Jessica Jones and even his own series. So just kind of give a quick overview of it. His original name is Carl Lucas. They hint that he was a former police officer. I don't know if that's necessarily the case. Luke Cage is actually one of those where I've said it numerous times. I've not read his individual comics or anything like that. The only way I know that he exists is because of the Avengers comics, the Marvel Ultimate Alliance, things like that. So at that point, I'm aware of Luke Cage, but I'm not aware of his history. And so his original name is Carl Lucas. He apparently was a former police officer that got... indicted for a crime he did not commit, or at least according to him, and he's just very prideful, so he went to jail anyway. And the entire episode kind of chronicles his life in jail, which is he's just kind of doing his time. He's, I believe, in there for 10 years. He's just doing his time. He's not causing any trouble, and at the same time, he doesn't trust anybody, including the therapist at the jail, whom I believe is Reva. Reva Connors. So at that point, we now know how he met Reva through the prison system. And then later on, we also get to meet the warden that he dealt with. And in turn, the fact that the warden took an interest in Luke Cage, so much so that he actually... So the warden kind of runs the joint. He's corrupt as crap, as you might expect. And he actually sends a crew to try and kill Carl Lucas. They don't succeed. Now, keep in mind, this is before he had powers, so, mortality was a thing. And I believe he is actually bleeding after the attack, so it does happen. After surviving that, the warden's like, okay, well, I would love to be able to use you as a gladiator. And we're like, really? You're going to feed him to lions? No, what he means is, he's got an underground fighting ring in the prison, and he has prisoners fight each other for the guards' amusement and bets. So at that point, he brings in Carl Lucas under duress. Carl has but one friend named, I think it was Squabbles is his name in the jail. I don't know his actual name. They don't actually refer to him that way. But Squabbles kind of comes in and is Carl Lucas's coach, and they also keep this from Reva because he's got kind of a respect for her, and he doesn't want to tell her. But he also stops going to her counseling sessions as a result of this. So he's doing really, really well in the ring, so to speak. But it's more of a brutality kind of thing. It's not necessarily honorable boxing matches or whatever. It's beat the living crap out of each other until one is left standing kind of thing. And so Carl does really, really well at this, and eventually comes across Reva Connors, but has to kind of halfway admit, this is why I haven't been to your counseling sessions, is because this is being held over my head, and I have to just do this to survive. But in the meantime, he's also resolved that he's going to build a case against the warden while he's doing these matches, so that he in turn can either work something out for his sentence or just get moved to another prison. Another thing that also gets mentioned is that there's apparently experiments going on at this prison, but nobody's admitting to that, especially Reva. Well, fast forward a little bit, the warden finds out that Carl Lucas is going to do this. So at that point, he tries to have him killed. Literally, the crap beaten out of him. to within an inch of his life. And they take him to the prison hospital, and Reva begs the prison doctor there to please use it on him. And we then find out that the experiments were legit. They were testing out a machine that could basically heal you. Or at least they were hoping that. It was very much experimental and looked very much like the Weapon X program. Can I just say that? It looked very much like the Weapon X program for Wolverine. So at that point, they put Lucas in there, and the warden finds out, stops it, or tries to stop it early, and instead of healing Luke, it does heal Luke, but at the same time, it also is the thing that gives him his powers, his unbreakable skin. So at that, and also his super strength. So he gets out of there, or out of the tube that he was in, finds the mess that he's in, and then realizes that, yeah, this is probably going to get blamed on him, and he's not happy about it, punches the wall, realizes he has super strength. Then he realizes, I ain't staying here, and punches his way out of the prison, and eventually meets up with Reva Connors outside to begin his new life and new name as Luke Cage. And that's when we cut back to, they've been having numerous attempts to get out of the rubble since then, and this is a successful attempt to get both him and Connie out. And at that point, he then comes out of the rubble. He's got media all over him, just like, you're a freaking hero, man. And who are you? And he just looks up at them. He just looks them in the eye and goes, my name is Luke Cage. And that's pretty much how the episode ends. For a backstory episode, I like it. It really does kind of narrow out some of the questions that I've had about the character of Luke Cage. Specifically, like how he got his powers and kind of the whole pride thing that we've been seeing throughout the series. So I did like that concept. I did also like a funny little Easter egg where when he's getting out of prison, he's got this headband on him. And eventually he goes to the first house that he can come across and steals from the clothesline. And it just so happens that the stuff he stole, when he looks in the reflection, he's repulsed by it. He doesn't like it. But it's actually mirroring the very first outfit that Luke Cage, or Power Man, ever had in the comics. So I thought that was a nice little Easter egg, nice little nod. Especially the fact he's like, screw this. I don't like this outfit. That was great, because I know a lot of comic fans that never liked his outfit. I think even when they gave him like an official superhero outfit, they didn't like it. But when he's in a t-shirt and jeans, it just works. So that's episode 4. I really liked it. I thought it was a nice build up to try and explain who Carl Lucas is, who eventually evolved into Luke Cage, and some of the things like his pride, his stubbornness are explained there. Then we go into episode 5, which is basically I want to say kind of the ending of the first storyline of this season, which is burying Pop, as well as being able to establish Luke as kind of a friendly neighborhood hero. So Cottonmouth, after seeing this guy on the news, Cottonmouth isn't doing well, because obviously his Fort Knox, as he calls it, was raided. He has none of his funds at this point, only what the club brings in. So his criminal empire is basically on the cusp of being wiped away. Well, he can't stand for that, so he in turn decides that he's going to start hitting up every neighborhood shop and home in Harlem for protection money. And if they complain, or if they say, why are you doing this? His answer is simple: blame Luke Cage. Trying to get Harlem against Luke Cage. And it kind of works for a time, but not really, because Luke goes out and he steps up. He starts reclaiming a lot of the lost property, but in particular, the one that we can't really follow is a woman named Aisha, and she has like a sports memorabilia shop, and her I think it's her father or her brother's prized, not Hall of Fame ring, but like a baseball ring of some kind was there. And the only reason she has it was because that relative became a drug addict, and they were about to sell it, and the only reason they didn't sell it was because Aisha stole it from them, so that this legacy could be upheld. Which is kind of a nice little twist to that. Shows that she's a nice person, and she wanted to be able to have that piece of history. Not just sold off for the next, hit of cocaine or whatever. So I did appreciate that. But they also kind of show that Aisha is a big neighborhood tie. And if you don't work with her, then this isn't going to work. So there's always this kind of big pendulum over Luke's head because he still hasn't gotten the ring back yet until near the end. But in the meantime, he also comes across all of Cottonmouth's thugs. And when he comes across them, he makes sure to just destroy their guns because he's sick and tired of all of that happening. The other kind of plot line that they do is that I can't remember. I don't know if we actually know his name, but there was a guy who helped Pop run the barbershop, and now he's helping it to kind of reopen it. He actually goes out and takes some of the money that they got from Fort Knox and helps Luke get a suit so that he can go to Pop's funeral. And at that point, it's a very expensive suit, so he can't destroy it. But when he's going off and taking care of Cottonmouth's thugs, they're shooting at him, which is creating all these bullet holes in the shirt. So it's also kind of a sad thing where thankfully they're all like on the side, so he can still wear the code that he has for the suit. But at the same time, he's very pissed off because it was a very expensive suit. The other thing too is that he actually goes and confronts Cottonmouth directly and says, stop messing around with the neighborhood, especially with my name. If you do so, then I'm going to come back here and I'm going to make your life a living hell, because he can technically do that. And this is also when Shades, who we also find out from the previous episode was another inmate of that prison, we then find out Shades finds out who he is, that he's Carl Lucas. And why that's necessary, or why that's a good and a bad thing. With that being said, he then pulls Cottonmouth aside and says, yeah, I understand the problem, but I may have a solution for you, which is a bullet basically made of Chitauri metal that will explode once it's in the body. But again, it's made from Chitauri metal, so not easy to come by. And so he offers to give it to Cottonmouth to take care of Luke Cage, but with a big caveat, which is that Diamondback, his boss, basically owns everything Cottonmouth owns. And Cottonmouth is not fine with that. He says, what's the actual price of this bullet? He writes it down. I don't know. You don't see what it is, but you can pretty much guess that it's just an exorbitant amount that he can't afford. But this is basically his only way to take care of Luke Cage, supposedly. We don't even know if that would work. So then we immediately cut to Pops' funeral, and we have a really prominent moment for both Cottonmouth as well as Luke, because we get to the point in the funeral where people are saying words of kindness, and Cottonmouth goes up and explains, this is why I do the things I do, and why I love Pop, and this is how I'm going to honor his memory by continuing his criminal enterprise. And then we have Luke step up and actually show himself as a hero. And this is actually a big pivotal moment for him and Aisha, because Aisha doesn't know if she can trust Luke, and then he makes his speech of honoring Pops' ideals, as well as being able to not stand for anybody trying to oppress, and this is all of the things that Aisha needs to hear. And the funny part is, while they're doing that, she looks into her purse, but she had a gun to take out Cottonmouth, but Luke took care of that while she wasn't looking. So she's got this nice bent gun, and at the end of the funeral, she pulls him aside and goes, so you're one of them. And I actually liked how he approached it. He's like, so you're one of them, aren't you? And he just looks her in the eye and goes, someone that gives a damn? Yeah, I am. That's the proper way that Luke Cage, I think, would answer that question. So we now have the perpetual battle lines being drawn between Cottonmouth and Luke Cage. And also, another interesting twist is, so we get more time with Luke and the female detective basically saying she doesn't like what he's doing, but also that her partner, who we know works with Cottonmouth, is now being investigated by Internal Affairs. So at that point now, he's a little bit pressured to not work with Cottonmouth in order to keep himself clean. So that's another thing that we can follow in future episodes. And that's going to go ahead and do it for this vlog of Luke Cage. So my final thoughts are, episode 4 was really great for the backstory, really helpful and very entertaining. And episode 5, Also very entertaining, especially in the concept of establishing those battle lines that Luke is not taking Cottonmouth's crap anymore, and also being able to see a sense of desperation with Cottonmouth because his entire criminal empire is falling apart in the matter of like 2 days. So I really like where the series is going. I'm looking forward to the next 2 episodes, and of course, that's going to go ahead and do it for this vlog of Luke Cage, and I will see you guys next time for the next video.